The film look. It's been used for decades. There's just something special about it. The way it handles light and colors, it's not perfect, but that's what makes it beautiful. And in today's video, I'm going to break down how I get the film look inside of DaVinci Resolve. Now, quick disclaimer before we start straight into the video. Dehancer reached out to me and asked if I could make a video for them. But wait, what is Dehancer really? Well, Dehancer is a film emulation plugin for DaVinci, Final Cut and Premiere. Now, I'm completely free in what I say about the product, so this is just my honest feedback and opinion about it.
With that being said,
let's switch over to DaVinci. Alright, before we start color grading inside of DaVinci Resolve, it's super important that you check your project settings. Well, under color management, change the color signs to DaVinci YRGB, the timeline color space to DaVinci White Gamma Intermediate, and the output color space to Rec. 709A. This just gives the most flexible workflow and gives you the most dynamic range when color grading inside of DaVinci Resolve, especially if you're on a Mac. For my workflow, I'm only using 3 to 4 nodes. So I'm going to create a new node with Option S, these 4 nodes. The first one I'm going to label with Shift L, the HDR, which is going to be the correction node, then the white balance node, then this one here is the Dehancer node, and finally is just for some effects if you want to add a radial blur or something like this. Next, we're going to search the Dehancer plugin inside the effects and drag and drop this one to this node. Well, the first thing what I don't really like is that Dehancer always comes with this mushy green look. I'm going to disable all tools to get a back to the neutral look and do everything from scratch. So in source, I'm going to choose my camera, which is the Sony A6700, and I shot this in S-Log3 S-Gamma3.cine. Well, we already got to a good starting point. It's now corrected to Rec. 709. Here we can make some basic adjustment like exposure and temperature, but I personally don't really do it inside of Dehancer because I think the DaVinci Resolve HDR tools and color wheels are absolutely perfect for this and give so much more control over than this one here. Next is going to be film, and here you can be super creative and choose one of the film profiles inside of Dehancer. Now, one of the most common one is the Kodak Portra 800, which is also one of my favorites. I also appreciate the Kodak Vision 3. These ones are just a bit more creative and extremer from the look, and I think when starting color grading with Dehancer, the Kodak Portra 800 is the best. So I'm going to enable this one. This already gives us a good starting point. Next one is Film Developer, and I'm going to enable this one and boost the colors up a little bit. This is too much, like so, just to give some color and richness back. Next one is Film Compressor. This one basically compresses the highlights so they will not clip as much and the highlights will be softened. Yeah, this makes just for a softer highlight. I'm always going to enable this one and just doing it slightly. The next one, Expander, is something I don't really use. You can change the black point here. It's definitely awesome for correcting, but I'm always doing the correction things inside of DaVinci itself. Print. It's the secret sauce inside of Dehancer and probably my favorite thing. Gonna enable this one and then change this to Kodak 2383 print film. This is one of the most famous prints and it's been used for decades. It's just a super punchy look and gives some contrast and saturation. I really appreciate the look of this one. Also gonna increase the color density a little bit just to add some saturation. Now, color head is also something that's one of the most important things for me in Dehancer. Also gonna enable this one. That's where you can change the shadows tone, midtones, highlights, and just correct your image a bit. What I also like to do is always give the shadows a bit of warmness. This really depends on the image you shot. So the next thing is film grain. We're going to enable this one, and there are so many different profiles. Basically how the grain works is that a 8mm is stronger than a 65mm. So I changed this one to 65, ISO 250. I think this is a good value of grain. I'm gonna increase this a tiny bit, like 25. So it's noticeable, but not giving our image a huge amount of grain. Halation softens the image with a red glow, especially in the highlight corners, like this here. Also, again, 8mm is stronger with this one, so I'm going to choose the 65mm and just doing it slightly. So I always think you don't need to give the effects the full strength, so I only most of the time do it just a tiny bit to give the image a bit more character. The next thing is bloom. I'm mostly going to enable this one just because it adds a dreamy look and softens the image. Also going to choose the 65mm preset, so I'm adding just a little bit. This basically is like the same as a mist filter. Film damage is also very interesting. It adds these dust and scratches to your image, gives a lot of character, but I think for the everyday normal use this is also a bit too much for me, but you can do it just a tiny bit to give some character to your image. Then film brief is something I also don't use, but this one also gives a bit of character to your image and makes it feel like it's shot on real film. Then gate wave is something that's more of a crazier effect. It adds a bit of a wobble to your image, so this will not be visible when applying to movement shots. Overscan is something where you can be super creative. You can enable this one if you want and choose the different presets. It just adds the film border. This can be super cool for a music video and if you want to go really creative, but I think for the normal use this is a bit too creative. The vignette is also something I'm going to apply to my footage most of the time. This just adds a bit of a border and you can decrease the exposure. Always helps to draw the viewer's eye into the center of the frame. You can also increase or decrease the size of it. I'm most of the time going to do this just slightly, just to help to bring the image a bit more depth. The LUT generator is something I really appreciate in Dehancer. It helps you to get a consistent look over multiple shots. You can export a LUT with the presets and settings you just did. Then the quality, this one I always keep on normal because high will completely slow down your computer unless you have a crazy computer. So for me, normal perfectly works and gives a good quality. I'm next going to the HDR wheels and just correcting the image a bit, lifting the shadows and overall global exposure, and then pushing down the highlights just a tiny bit. The next one is white balance. Here I have my secret trick. Always change the gamma to linear and then go to the gain wheel, and then you can white balance this image with the gain wheel super precisely. This one already looks good. And then on my last node I like to add a radial blur, which is just a creative look and also helps to give some attention into the middle of the image. I'm also going to decrease this one like this. So yeah, that was it with my color grading workflow inside of DaVinci Resolve using Dehancer. You see, it's a super easy workflow with just 3 or even 4 nodes. It really helps me to get a good creative film look within a couple of minutes and not wasting my time on diving deeply into this color grading workflow. But wait, Dehancer doesn't only have a plugin, they also provide a mobile app. Now the mobile app is basically the Dehancer plugin for your phone. It gives you control over grain, halation, and such as many other things like the one in DaVinci. I think this is a complete game changer when editing on the go without using my laptop. Alright guys, that was it with the video. I hope you liked it, and if you have any further questions, please drop them down in the comments, and don't forget to use the discount code LUA10 to save 10% of Dehancer.